Chapter 2. Gemma's house, 7:15 a.m. Gemma reached out to switch off her beeping alarm. Brrr! It was so cold outside her bed. She pulled her arm back into the warm and peeked out between the cosy folds of duvet. For a moment, she thought that she must be seeing things. There were huge icicles hanging from a big black crack in her ceiling, and her radiator was sprouting a frozen waterfall of ice. She could hear her brother Kevin shouting from the bathroom. He sounded very fed up. "Dad," Kevin yelled, "the taps won't turn on." "The pipes are frozen, son," Dad called back from the bottom of the stairs. "And the electric's off too." A moment later, Gemma was doing some yelling of her own, as the ceiling of her bedroom stopped being a ceiling and decided there was a future for it as a floor. Karl's flat, 8:10 a.m. Karl was wrapped in his duvet, wearing all the clothes he could fit on his body. He peered out of the 17th floor window of the little flat he shared with Auntie Nat. All he could see was white. Clouds had gathered in the night and were now dumping their load of snow on Lonchester. Auntie Nat emerged from the kitchen carrying a single lighted candle that flickered and sent mysterious shadows dancing all around the room. "Look at the snow, Auntie," Karl beamed excitedly. Auntie Nat made her most disapproving noise. She said. "This is not fun, Karl. There is no water, no electricity. We cannot stay here." Meera's house, 8:45 a.m. Meera's parents were loading their car with blankets and food, whilst her little brothers, Sadar, Dale and Etash, were jumping up and down on the snowy pavement. The family were going to Uncle Sanjay's house, out of town. Uncle Sanjay had a wood-burning stove and a generator. But Meera didn't want to go. "Mum, please let me stay at Silver Street," she pleaded. "For the last time," Mrs. Gupta said. "No. Look up and down the street, Meera. Everyone is leaving." Mrs. Gupta was right. Temperatures as cold as the Arctic had caused everything to break down. There were power cuts all over town, and some places didn't have water. Now the heaviest snow on record was forecast. Lonchester's big freeze had become an emergency, and lots of people had decided to leave before the snow trapped them. "But, Mum," Meera almost wailed. She couldn't bear the thought of being stranded at Uncle Sanjay's when Silver Street might need her. Her father came to the rescue. "Meera will be bored at Sanjay's," he said kindly to his wife. "She'll be fine at Silver Street, dear heart. She can take a sleeping bag and blankets. Besides, this weather will pass in a day or two." "Oh, OK then," said Mrs. Gupta reluctantly. "I'll give Flora a call." Lonchester Children's Home, 9:10 a.m. Bish Bosh and Squirt didn't like playing a dirty trick on Dave and Sarah, who looked after them. But as Bish Bosh pointed out solemnly, these are extreme circumstances. They had got onto the bus that was taking them out of town and pretended to go to sleep at the back. Dave ticked their names off the list, while Sarah got all the other children on board. But just before the bus pulled away, when the aisle was piled so high with luggage that no one could even see the back seat, they slipped out through the emergency exit, ran back inside the house, and hid. "By the time they notice," Bish Bosh said as they crouched behind the sofa, "there'll be too much snow for them to turn back." Squirt grinned and touched his palm to his brother's in a silent high five. Silver Street Farm, 10:23 a.m. Flora had never seen snow like it, not even on the Scottish farm where she grew up. The paths she had cleared half an hour before were filling up. "If it carries on like this," she said to herself, "it'll be over the windows by tea time." She put the shovel back inside. She would have to wade through the snow to get to the animals, even if it took all day. Just as she was wondering if she should make a pair of snowshoes out of a couple of old tennis rackets, 6 figures appeared out of the whiteness, like ghosts. They wore hats and gloves and boots, and they were covered from head to foot in snow. "Hello, Flora," said one of the snow people in Meera's voice. "We've come to stay."